Let's talk about this child tax credit. So, over the weekend, an interesting story emerged from the Democratic side. And I'll ask you this question, what does it mean to have a family? What does it mean to be a family? In maybe in your eyes, it's probably different, I would think, than what in the eyes of the government, right? I'm sure across this country, there are people who might not be blood relatives that are taking care of someone else in the family or taking care of someone who they would consider family. Maybe it's someone who's just lived with the family because they lost a mom and dad years ago. And so they've just taken care of them for many, many years. How many people watching right now can think of a situation in your own sort of circle where it might not be on paper described as technically a family, according to the US government, but in your eyes, you're like, Molly is family. She's our daughter, even though she's not blood, right? I'm sure you guys can think of examples. Drop me a comment below about that if that applies to you. So what does it mean to be a family? Well, Democrats are asking the very same question this morning. Democrats specifically are looking to expand the meaning of family. Imperial Majesty says, yeah, I raised my godson. And to you, that would be family, right? Although not blood. I have a couple of friends that have godchildren. They spend like all their time with the godchildren. They're not related. But they spend so much time, they would likely you might consider them by saying brother or uncle, right? So all of these things are, subjective, I guess. But does it matter? It does to the government. So now Democrats are looking to change this eligibility for the child tax credit. Nancy Pelosi wants to alter this. That means that you would not have to be a relative of a child to receive this $3,600 a year in child tax benefits. The credit would instead apply to anyone who cares for a child, related or not. Think how transformative this will be. People who are left out simply because they don't fit a certain definition. You remember after 9/11, right? Certainly dependent on the state you were in. I don't know if you saw the movie. It was a powerful movie called Worth, 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 with Michael Keaton. Came out this year. It's on Netflix. You can watch it. It's a great movie. And he was playing the role, having to figure out the worth of a family, the worth of someone who died in 9/11. And if there was a gay couple, depending on the state was up to dispersing those funds for those who had been lost, a family member who had been lost in 9/11. Well, just so happened that, there was a couple that one of them, they lived in Virginia. Well, the state laws just didn't recognize it. Therefore, they didn't get access to that funds. Like, really? But in New York State, they got access to the funds. So all of these definitions really matter when it comes time to this. For these things. Researchers say that hundreds of thousands of children in the United States are cared for by people who are not related to them. Hundreds of thousands. So under the current child tax credit payment program, those people would not receive $3,600 per child. Those payments to help them support those children, even just because they're not blood. Democrats proposed a change to this rule under their new tax plan. And we'll see if it passes. Not everyone agrees that this should be done, of course. The IRS worries that it cannot verify these payments. I love that they're really I love that the IRS, don't you? They're really concerned about verifying crap when it comes to like a small amount of money that would go out to help people. Right? They don't even give a rat's behind that all of these billionaire tax cheats aren't paying taxes. But they're worried about how are they going to verify these payments? And they're worried about what would this mean for like child tax benefits such as the earned income tax credit. So how are they going to verify this specifically? I don't know. Figure it out.
Yeah, it's the ship is sinking. There are people in the water, and you've got people on the ship on the sinking ship going, well, we shouldn't throw out life vests because we don't know if everybody's actually drowning. There might be
Right.
somebody out there that's a strong swimmer. We don't want to waste these life preservers on that.
Yeah, is that guy out there by that iceberg? Is he swimming? I can't see.
Like,
I
no, no,
don't
no, no, no,
know.
no. No, we can't, we
No.
can't, we can't, we can't risk it. We can't risk a few people taking advantage of this system to save hundreds of thousands.
This life preserver is so valuable that I just don't want to waste it on that guy. I mean, he's right by that iceberg. He could just grab onto it.
It's infuriating.
And bottom line, they're not even talking about fraud in the system. You're always going to have fraud in the system, right? I mean, when I worked in retail, you accounted for, what was it, like, they called it shrinkage, I think, or like 1 or 2% of, when I worked in the video store, like 1 or 2% of your overall number could be accounted for by shrinkage, theft, people stealing CDs or whatever. You know what I mean? That's in the number. It's going to be in there. There's going to be fraud. There's going to be some moron who's taking advantage of the system. But most people won't. So just figure out a way to account for these people and help these people. So under these newly proposed rules, an adult would qualify for the tax credit if they maintain a secure environment where the child lives. So I guess unlike the movie The Room, although that might be a really secure environment. I wonder if that guy would qualify. Wouldn't that be amazing? Like the guy that in the movie The Room, he's like, hey, I've got some captives that I keep in this room. It's under lock and key. They haven't seen daylight in 10 years. Is that good? Is that a stable and secure environment where the child lives? And they also have to be involved in financial, if they are involved in financial and other support, as well as taking their responsibility for education or medical care. So do they make sure they take the child to get a haircut? Do they take them to the doctor? Do they take them to school? All of those things would factor into this and make these people apply, and have a system that follows up on that. It's not that difficult. Other countries do this. It shouldn't be that difficult. And who cares if the IRS can't handle it? You know what? They just hired 4,000 additional people to be on the phones. Rejigger some of those resources. They already make billions of dollars. They can do this. So again, I think this is a huge story, a remaking of the child tax credit, an expansion to hundreds of thousands of additional Americans. I think the child tax credit is already a transformative bill, and I'm hoping that Democrats will see to it this week as part of this stimulus and reconciliation package to expand this $3,600 permanently, not just this temporary for a few years, but to make it permanent. And yes, to expand it to include people who are also taking care of children who might not be blood relatives. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Drop me a comment below. Thanks for subscribing to the channel. You can also become a channel member by going to morninginvest.com/join, where you can stick it to the mainstream media and support independent journalism. We're able to bring you the stories that you won't see on any of the major billionaire-backed networks. Thanks so much. We'll see you next time, everyone.